Shuji Tsushima, or commonly known as Osamu Dazai, was a Japanese novelist and author who is notoriously known for his gut-wrenching works, such as No Longer Human, Ningen Shikaku, and The Setting Sun, Shayo, that are, even to this day, still considered one of the greatest pieces in Japanese literature. Due to the exposure to Western literature as a child, his writing style is also influenced. With the mixture of Japanese-styled and Western-styled writing, his unique composition for each page is something that would definitely leave a lasting impression on the impartial readers. Shuji Tsushima, born on June 19, 1909, in Kanagi, around the north of Japan, was the 10th child in a wealthy, influential family. His father was a prominent landowner and politician, but he was often absent, leaving Dazai to be primarily raised by servants who would later take advantage of him. He showed an early interest in literature. Despite the expectations of his family to follow a more conventional path, authors like Fyodor Dostoevsky or Murasaki Shikubu would be his primary interest. To give you a good idea of the themes of his works, let's take a look at Osamu Dazai's magnum opus, No Longer Human. Published in 1948, the semi-autobiographical novel delves into themes of alienation, self-loathing, and the struggles of living authentically in society, struggling to understand the very existence of humans, which then led him to feel alien in a supposedly familiar environment, hence the name No Longer Human. It's a heart-wrenching piece of novel that delves deep in both the author and the reader's mind. Tragically, however, it was his final completed work. Shortly after his publication, Dazai and his lover, Tome Yamazaki, took their own lives by drowning in the Tamagawa Canal. The novel, with its raw portrayal of despair, feels eerily prophetic, cementing Dazai's legacy as one of Japan's most enigmatic literary figures. Although the majority of his works are rather depressing, grim, raw, and real with a sense of strong existentialism, just like No Longer Human, one of his works stood out to me. Hashire Melos, or Run, Melos. Hashire Melos is a short story written by Osamu Dazai and first published in 1940. It was serialized in the literary magazine Bungakukai and is one of Dazai's most well-known works. The story is a modern retelling of classic Greek legend about friendship and trust, centered on the character Melos, who faces trials to prove his loyalty to a friend. The story begins with Melos, a peasant, being arrested after the tyrant king Dionys discovers his plan to assassinate him for unjustly killing his own subjects. The king has grown distrustful of people, believing no one is honorable. But then Melos pleads to be released for 3 days to attend his sister's wedding, promising to return to face execution. To secure this promise, he offers his childhood friend Celentinius as a hostage. And if Melos doesn't return, Celentinius will be executed and crucified in his place. The king merely scoffed and laughed, thinking that there's no way a man would willingly come back to face his own death. The thought was so foolish, and he was humored by it, granting Melos' wish, saying, 願いを聞いた、その身代わりを呼ぶがよい。3日目には日没までに帰ってこい。遅れたらその身代わりをきっと殺すぞ。ちょっと遅れてくるがいい。お前の罪は永遠に許してやろうぜ。After convincing the king to release him temporarily, Melos hastily returns to his village to attend to his younger sister's wedding, bringing gifts and pretty dresses for her as commemoration. As her only family member left, his sister, who looks up to him, has no idea about his dire circumstances. Melos hides the truth, wanting the wedding to be a joyous occasion untainted by his impending death. On his way back after the wedding, Melos faces numerous trials. He is ambushed by bandits who try to steal his belongings. But in the face of them, he says, 何をするのだ。私はジョンの刻まぬうちに王族へ行かなければならぬ。話せ。 どっこい話さぬ。持ち物全部を置いていけ。私には命の他には何もない。そのただ一つの命も、それから王にくれてやるのだ。Then proceeds to knock the shit out of the bandits and escaped. Exhausted and desperate in the race against time, he almost gives up hope but is reinvigorated by the thoughts of Selentinu's unwavering trust, and how he'll prove to the king that a man's resolve and sincerity is far stronger than anything. As he pushes on, Melos is further challenged by fatigue, hunger, and a violent river that sweeps him downstream. At one point, he feels tempted to abandon his promise, rationalizing that Selentinius might forgive him, but his conscience and sense of honor overpower his despair. Summoning all his strength, Melos runs tirelessly, arriving just as Selentinius is about to be crucified and executed. Moved by Melos' loyalty and Selentinius' faith, the king spares Melos' life, admitting that their bond has restored his belief in human virtue. The story ends with a celebration of their friendship, underscoring themes of trust, perseverance, and redemption. Hashire Melos is, till this day, a classic Japanese literature that is very well known in Japan, especially among students who are exposed to this piece of work around middle school, which says a lot about the impact it had on the current generation. This work in particular is rather lighthearted and motivational in comparison to his other works. It's a beautiful story about friendship, honor, pride, and endurance, which makes it stand out to me in the midst of his rather melancholy and solemn pieces. I think this deeply reflects Dazai as an author and his flexibility, capable of writing heartbreaking novels and at the same time can make the readers laugh and chuckle at the ridiculousness of some. The reason why I wanted to share this particular work of his is because I feel that it gets overshadowed by the more gritty and dark works of Dazai, which, by all means, it deserves the attention it gets, but I feel like works like this can also offer a new perspective to how the author tried to convey himself through his own writings. And even someone as raw as him can find humor in his own words, finding a glimpse of hope in the baleful existence known as life.